a lot of these first responders, I see it. They work multiple jobs because they can. A lot of overtime. I mean, I met a guy the other week. He was working basically from Friday through Monday straight, maybe with 12 hours off. Overtime is here's the first responder starter pack. Okay. They make decent money, all this overtime, and they don't do anything with it other than fund their lifestyle or buy new debt and bad debt. How many first responders out there got the new truck that will cost $75,000 because they work so much overtime? They got the jet ski that they don't use maybe twice a year. So I do think that it can move the needle if it's allocated and structured appropriately. But the starter pack of first responders is increase more debt or let me buy more things because I'm making this good money. I see it over and over again. And that's the difference between a successful first responder and an unsuccessful one. The ones that are driven start a side business with this money or invest it and understand their options of investing it. The unsuccessful ones would be in this business until however many old cry poor because they're constantly buying or increasing their debt, not increasing their assets with their overtime. This is the first responder starter pack that I'm trying to change with my messaging, my services, and things of that nature because they can make good money and, it's what they do with it, how they structure it. And most just buy new things, increase the debt load.
Where do you think that comes from? Because, I mean, for me, I would assume it comes from the idea of they are living life like on the edge, day at a time. It could be over at any second for any reason, completely unexpectedly. So it's like, well, live it up while you're here, right? That kind of a thing. So how, but, then they reach 50, 60, 70 years old and they're like, uh-oh. So how do you combat that mindset and the difference of, man, we're first responders, it could be over in a second, live life to the fullest because that's how we live our lives.
I guess both of those are true, right? They just kind of go out like it is what it is. Like they see so many we see so many tragic events that, they don't want to be careful with, the future or anything of that nature. And I'm not saying this is for everyone, but there's a lot of the first responders out there that do have that kind of YOLO mentality that every dollar earned is meant to be spent. Can't die with it, basically. Based on what you've seen. I mean, it depends on the background, how they're uprising. Some are educated, some are not. We do need people to support this world, and sometimes they just don't have the background from the family. I mean, a lot of financial wellness is instilled from family practices. Education, influence of, others or, successful people. And sometimes those backgrounds just don't exist with first responders. And it could be the case for any career, really, but you see it more in the first responder world because it is, not like the military, but it's a very unique person that goes in the military, very unique person, set of skills, traits, morals that go in the first responders in the military. Very similar, right? Interesting because they serve so much to the community. They care so much about that, but they care so little about their own personal well being sometimes. And it's hard to care about yourself. And maybe they're just, so numb to the crap that they do see in the novel. I mean, you see a lot of tons, you lose faith in humanity sometimes, you get reassured that, your job will be secure. And that's saddening. And they just like, screw it. Let's just, live life best I can. And that's okay to a point until you want to start caring about it. And sometimes it's too late.
Yeah, and because then that tax bill hits, and then you're like, "Whoops, maybe I gotta sell that jet ski I didn't use that many times." So, like,
Yeah.
what would be the proper way to plan for it? Because we understand what the taxes look like with the pension plus the 457 withdrawals, plus a possible side business, self-employment tax. That's a lot to keep track of. So, what is the right way to go about planning for those things?
You need a structure. You need to understand one, what your tax liability is. You need to know how much you're making. I can't tell you how many people, just like, hits my paycheck or hits my bank account. I don't know what I make an hour, or I just hit, I see this dollar amount. I work X amount of extra shifts, and this is how much I get per paycheck. They view it that way. They don't actually see the breakdown of what actually is coming out of it, or how it's calculated. So understanding really, it's really not difficult. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions of how it's calculated. But figuring out how much you are making and knowing that figure throughout the year will determine planning out your taxable income. And then once you do hit retirement, it gets a little simpler because you then have, limited streams of income, but you have them from all over, and you do have to manage your tax liabilities that way. Just, a different type of complexity.
And it starts too with controlling your cash flow and your income and where
Yeah.
is all the money going. Now we did touch upon this a little bit earlier, but like detail work, security gigs, landscaping even, that sounds like a lot of contract work, a lot of 1099s, which can mean a lot of business accounts. So how do you help them kind of stay organized with, okay, you have cash coming in from all different places. We need to funnel at least some of it into one account with multiple bank accounts separating expenses and everything. And that's so how do you also build that structure? Because multiple sources of income just creates multiple structural problems and challenges in organizational skills.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. I mean, it depends on how it's
Yeah.
structured. This is classic business planning 101, business financial planning 101. So if a lot of these income streams are businesses, we're funneling this and creating LLCs, then funneling that to a holding LLC where we're paying a salary to simplify it. You're going to need an accounting software or accounting firm to do that. So these complexities do require investment and structure. You can't just wing it. And this is how, the 1% and these people make good money and offset their taxes as well, is a solid business structure. And I can help out with that, having multiple LLCs or structuring that into one LLC holding company and then funneling out and paying less taxes. This is exactly the world I live in, especially for first responders that have this privilege of having a side gig. Some people just take it extra to the bank account. Again, that support that starter pack of additional debt and not assets. But I think having structure there could be very beneficial, and a lot of people lack that, or you know think that just starting an LLC then solves it all. That's step one of doing so.
The last thing to really touch upon is the time commitment. Because you said Monday to Friday, 12 hours of rest between those 3 days. You need to build the structure and kind of get all this sorted out. How? Where is the time? These people are working 80, 90 hours a week sometimes. How and where are they supposed to find the time to dedicate to it? Because once you have a free moment, it's kind of like, man, I just want to kick my feet up, watch my kids play. Right. So, how do you help them find the time? And is it more of a time problem or is it more of a knowledge problem?
It's both. One, they're overcommitting themselves. They think they need to work all this extra overtime to support their lifestyle. So understanding where the drains are in their current financial world. And two, the moment they start maximizing their investments and assets to their current state or future state, the less overtime they'll have to work and get some time back. Because they'll realize that all that extra overtime is actually really taking away from your family and well being. And really, you working more overtime without a structure, a financial plan structure, is really worthless. And that's why you'll constantly be in that grind, because you're just constantly working for that next dollar. For what? You don't know that answer. Sit down with someone like myself for an hour, 2 hours, and understand that and start shifting that. You'll realize that you won't be picking up these overtime shifts as much. You'll have more time back, because the biggest misconception that I see in first responders goes back to that conversation I had with my fire lieutenant recently, constantly on someone else's clock, right? But first responders don't understand this. They are so used to working for money, overtime, side gigs, additional shifts. They don't take the time to have their money work for them. That's through investments, buying assets, creating some sort of side income, whatever it may be. I can help out with that. They don't take time to have the money work for them. They are constantly working for money. And there is a difference there. It's kind of like business owner versus employee, or an employee that's a business. There's a lot of different things out there. And I think that's the biggest thing because, they're just, again, the starter pack there, first responders, they're just buying more debt or spending all that extra money. They're not actually putting their money to work, which they can do. They just think work is additional shift. It's not.
I mean, anyone can do it. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of mental fortitude as well, because that starter pack, that is very attractive. That is probably a reason why some young people even get into the business to begin with. They think I'm going to bust my ass, have some fun, but maybe they're an adrenaline junkie. And this bike, I'm just going to live life to the fullest and do what I can and figure it all out later. And you can still do that, but you do need to have that structure and that plan. And you're going to do it a lot more effectively if you put that money to work for you instead of putting you to work for that money. And there is a huge difference. I think a lot of people are starting to realize what that means and how they can do it, which is another reason why a word like Roth jumps off the page. It's like, okay, it's doing work for me, completely tax free. So, Nick, out of this entire conversation, what is the one smallest change that someone could make today, right now, to actually go and move the needle?
Allocate your overtime pay to an asset, not debt. Take time off to enjoy your family. It's kind of two pieces of advice, but I would say that I think those are two of the biggest starters because one is there's initial discipline. Two, it kind of starts giving that, you know, left side, right side of value, and you'll start realizing the compounding benefits. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think that's the biggest thing. First responders are constantly living in the present because things happen so quick, right? You never really think of the future in a sense. They're so used to last minute chaos, organized chaos in a sense. But as you realize that just a little bit of compounding time, great things come with time, including your career, your financial status. This is not going to happen overnight by shifting two paychecks a month, or one paycheck a year of overtime into a brokerage account. It will help, but it's going to take more discipline and more time than that.
Yep. And all right, Nick, just to wrap it up, put a bow on it. Someone still has more questions. They want to get in touch with you. What is the best way to find you and learn about how you can help them?
Yeah, reach out to me in LinkedIn. I think that's one of the best spots right now, Nick Lager. You can also shoot me an email and contact me through my website, tacticalwealthplan.com, if you want to get tactical with your money.